I wear my first hat, which almost matches my shirt, that the words for aloha in Hawaii are aroha in New Zealand. We find the same words being found around our planet through our mystical school teachings. Aumakua is the enlightened energy in Hawaii. Aumakua is the enlightenment energy in Egypt. We find the same words around our planet being used to describe ourselves and our enlightenment around our universe. As I travel around our planet, I see commonalities that every culture thinks they're number one, when in fact we're all number one. If you read Dan Brown's new book, The Lost Symbol, which I highly recommend, the words "E pluribus unum" are this country's founding fathers. And we who are Caucasians in here, at least, on the white folks, the Masons who are here, were founded upon a mystery school here in this country. For Washington was a great mystery school, and he became a god. Did you know that? They're looking, huh? Has anybody here read The Lost Symbol other than me? 3 people. Wow. 4. I don't care. What's your excuse? Buy it already. I read every day. The key for us is to be aware of the world around us. And this week we found, for example, that we have the moon yesterday was hit at 7:30 in the morning, and I saw that live on CNN. You see that live on CNN the other morning? We bombed the moon the other morning. We had earthquakes last week, and yesterday Barack Obama was made Nobel Peace Prize winner, which immediately was described by the Republicans saying it was a sham and it was bad for the USA and Christianity. Did you hear that? And also we awarded last week the Ignorable Awards. Somebody invented a bra that serves as a gas mask. So for you men out there, you may really like one's been used already. We also got an award for people in China who found that panda poo bacteria reduce kitchen waste by 90%. Panda poo bacteria helps get rid of kitchen crap. So you take crap and it gets less crap. And I was telling there's going to be a joke here. When I came in here, I had some ancient Egyptian scrolls. This ain't quite so ancient, but it reminds me of our scrolls, and it reminds me of a joke. This actually is the astrological symbols, actually Ptolemaic, and the symbol of Dendera Chapel in Egypt on the west bank in the Thebes area, west of Luxor. So here's actually an old scroll. And it goes as follows. About 10 years ago, Tom Benedict and I were in Minnesota. And I was teaching him how to do this sacred ceremony, this sacred mass. And it's something we've done for 1,000 lifetimes together. And I would keep it on a scroll I would bury in the ground and use for all my people around me and use for decades after decades. But he thought he was hot crap. He didn't have panda poo in his diet. So he wasn't reduced by 90%. So we found that Tom, we're going to play a trick on him. Tom, you think you're hot stuff? Go out and we'll do a ceremony with us. So he went out with us that one night, midnight, full moon, and Cheryl and I are howling. Dig up the scroll. Digs it up. And there's nothing on it. We buried a blank scroll. And go ahead, Tom, lead the ceremony. And so we said, you can't tell your mass from the scroll on the ground.
Thank you.
Oh, boo, hiss. So the first thing I remembered also too was that I was thinking this week about the class is that I was thinking of Star Wars Phantom Menace and Darth Vader, and that they had a mystery school. And you see what happened to them. He killed all the young people in the school. Many schools around the world have been killed. Most of you have been killed in former mystery schools here and there around our world. There were schools among the Cathars in France, a great utopian society in France. The Pope had them all killed. There were schools among the Mayans at Palenque, at Tikal, Uxmal, Caracal, Yucatan. Likewise, they were killed by the peoples of religion. There were schools here and there right on our planet which were killed off by religious people who are seeking to keep their own ideas for sway. There was a school in Alexandria. The head librarian was a great lady, Hypatia. But the Christians, unfortunately, got jealous of her. They took her out of the library. While they burned it, they removed her skin while she was alive and scraped her body from her bones and burned them while she was alive, as much as she could while she was alive. They burned her alive. So over and over and over, we have been persecuted by those who would say, mysteries you have are not for sharing with other peoples. And my comment is, and that was panda poo in that, by the way. And we hear this past week, a great mystery school is there in England at Stonehenge. And we announced this last Monday, a Blue Henge near Stonehenge, about 1.31 miles due sacred walk from Stonehenge's Blue Henge and Woodhenge. They were likewise great sacred structures for creating energy and light. And there are ancient sites around our planet that brought forth teaching for all of you adepts and people who are here. In Egypt, it was Hierapolis, Heliopolis, and 2 other towns. At one time, Akhenaten tried to create a unity of all people under the Aten sun disk. And you see what happened to him. He was killed. Amar was destroyed. And he was destroyed off the idols of who he was because the priests who were there did not like the change in status quo. So throughout history, those who would hold status quo would try to keep us away. Those would teach us the mysteries of the world. So we had schools in Egypt, in Atlantis, in Lemuria, in Mayan, in Yucatan, and Mount Shasta, at Chaco Canyon, here in Ohio around the Mounds, in Egypt, in Tibet, in Cambodia, in Hawaii, around the world. We had sites that taught us the mysteries of the ancient ones. That we had scrolls and rocks and wisdom and knowledge, which we learned from our elders, adepts. We learned over a period of stages and lifetimes to learn to bring forth knowledge and ideas through a period of energy studies. Not one day, not 1 month, not 1 year, but lifetimes of memories of learning our own selves through the energies of chant and ceremony and sacred objects and going beyond our own selves by many, many, many means. And here in this country, we have symbols of those things that are here now. For example, our country was founded upon Masonic energies, a mystery society, if you will. And we find in Washington, D.C., for example, the Washington Monument is the biggest obelisk in the world. Did you know that, people? The biggest obelisk, which is a symbol of virility and energy in the world, is the Washington Monument. It's 55.5 feet on the side, 5.5 feet, which makes how many inches? 6 inches. Okay? On a side. So those who would say it's a bad number, we found our country upon that energy of what it was.
Number of humanity.
Number of humanity, exactly. You're right, Deb. Number 13 on your dollar bill. On your dollar bill over. Look at the back of your dollar bill. In the eagle's claws, the leaves, the olive branches. Thank you. And there are 13 in that PA system there too, by the way. 13 levels of pyramid above the all-seeing eye, which again comes from Egypt. If you look at the back of your dollar bill, here's the symbol of consciousness, of cosmic consciousness on your dollar bill. Cosmic consciousness, mystical teaching on your dollar bill. So if you want to learn how to create consciousness among all of us, look at your dollar bill, no egg sciences.
Yeah.
The all-seeing eye, E pluribus unum, has how many letters? 13. On conceptus, 13 letters. Olive branches, stars, sheaves, leaves. The back of your dollar bill is a hierarchy of the number 13 and how lucky it is for peoples on our planet around us. So we find that our energies have cross-cultural activities and teachings of the old ones, of the adepts, through time and space. So all the old mystery schools that we were in were schools truly of higher learning, of wisdom, of power, of thought, of activations. They were all over our planet. Again, they were at least 4 localities in Upper and Lower Egypt. And they stayed for years. I taught the schools in Egypt myself till I screwed up. For Nancy and I were in Egypt many thousands of years ago. And I also helped teach Moses. But I thought I was all powerful like Tom. And the Pharaoh said, take Batavia, or Batavia, we would say. There's a town called Batavia or Batavia, as I say in Ohio, Claremont County. Take Deander and Batavia with you and go out there and show off in front of the troops who are coming to attack Egypt. Use your great power staff and see what the hell you can do. Okay, fine. I'm a big dude. Boga boga, uga boga, uga boga, atun, atun ra, uga boga, uga boga, atun ra. And they all died. Holy crap. No panda poo. They all died. I said to the Pharaoh, hey Pharaoh, I killed all of them. I'm upset. I shouldn't have done that. You're wrong. And the Pharaoh said, you're exiled the rest of your life. So my power was destroyed in Egypt because I was overconfident of who I was. So again, a teaching here is humility. Nobody knows more than anybody else in this room. Nobody's hot crap other than the panda. And as long as you're bringing panda poo, that way you recycle all of our kitchen waste. So we had those schools in Egypt in 4 localities, which were killed off later as other cultures came about. And they've forgotten them there now in Egypt. There are no schools in Egypt now because they've forgotten them. But yet if you have money in Egypt, you can get us through a ceremony anywhere you... Yes. We have jackals back. It must be Anubis back there. We have Anubis back there, okay. We have jackals with Anubis back there. Watch, so we have those schools in Egypt which have the energies. They've forgotten, but you use money in Egypt, you can do ceremonies wherever in Egypt. But they have forgotten their ancient ways. But yet in Maya land, in Yucatan, in Mexico, they are prohibited from doing their teachings. I was talking to Hunbat's men a couple weeks ago here in Ohio and Kentucky. Bless you. The greatest Mayan teacher on our planet who works with Chichen Itza, he brought people from all over the world to go to Chichen Itza to do a ceremony, a mystery school ceremony there, and the Mexican authorities said, you can't pray here. They are prohibited from praying. The Mayans cannot pray at a Mayan temple anywhere in Mexico, which is again religion preventing the mystery school teachings coming forth. He cannot pray at his own temple he built lifetimes ago, so he's building his own temple. So many of us who are in here have been prohibited from teaching and doing ceremony at our own place we built. I was in Peru last month, or a month and a half ago. You cannot do a ceremony, the sacred sites in Peru, without permission. You can't even usually do it there. When you go to Machu Picchu, they blow whistles at you, they chase you off the site. You can't do a ceremony unless you can where to hide from. They prohibit ceremonies at sacred sites, which is run by the state. You gotta sneak around because they don't want you doing waking up Mother Earth, Pachamama, Apu, fathers, mothers. So our teachings are now for mystery schools that we are now reawakening our soul here upon Mother Earth. And we're transferring the power from Tibet to Peru to Chile. So the ancient awakening of our souls, mystery school-wise, which was held forth in the ancient scrolls of Tibet, were destroyed by the Chinese Revolution. Many Cultural Revolution a few years ago destroyed many of our ancient scrolls we had in Tibet, and they destroyed so much of our knowledge, which is now in our mind's eye and hidden away in caves around our planet. There were schools then in the Middle East, in Europe, and here and there, in Maya lands, in Tibet, around the world, but most of those are now going, they're now rebuilding many of them. So as you look, you'll see that Online, many schools are now starting back up again. We found our own country upon the mystery symbol schools. The Masons, the Washington Monument, these are all mystery school teachings. The Washington Monument also on top of it has a 3,300-pound capstone, 33-degree Masons. Washington was a 33-degree Mason. Okay? On top of that was a capstone made of aluminum, which said Klausdale, which means praise God. When you praise God, no matter what way it's praising it, it's the energy of all, the oneness of all creation, the mystery school teachings. You praise God. Thousands of tons, Great Pyramid was there. They used to build the Ohio Erie Canal. No remnant of it left other than a few stones here and there. They had a Great Pyramid here in Ohio. There are pyramids around our planet. So this area in Ohio, these people who were here 1,000+ years ago were sacred geometers. They knew the language of light, the sacred geometry of light. Language das Licht. The greatest goddess moon temple site in the world is the Octagon Mounds in Newark. Aligns perfectly with moonrise every 17 years. And the energy in those mounds is magical. How do you bring them forth with teachings of who you are? Use your mouth. Many of you have big mouths in here. If you've not used them now, you may have had it cut off before. Use your big mouth now in a way to bring forth the sound of your own soul. Find a sacred mantra sound, syllable sound, and learn to know them. And there are many good books about those. I've used sounds around our planet to break it up. And you heard Freddie Silva earlier in this same room. The sacred temples of sound always have within them sonic chambers of memory and reverberations. When you use those energies to wake them up, you're waking up your soul. And music and dance, when you prohibit music and dance, you don't let the soul grow forth. So the teaching of the schools, mystery around the world, involves singing and dance and music and instruments and ritual and setting, ceremony. We make offerings. We do rituals. We teach each other how to celebrate who we are. We find the right words. We leave offerings around our planet. We don't take, we give too. And here in Washington, D.C. also you find National Cathedral is an obelisk, a gargoyle of Darth Vader. Washington by God, D.C. has a Darth Vader on top of National Cathedral, along with a moon rock and 10 pieces of Mount Sinai and the high altar. So we have revered objects around the world in many cultures. When you read the Kabbalah Code by Jimmy Twyman, you see the use of the Hebrew word of gods to heal Paris. When you travel around the world doing ceremony and site work, you heal the planet yourselves using the energies of the sites. You use magic wands. You might use an ankh. And you see this ankh is also a zero sign. It's also an omega. And the ankh refers also to the circumpunct and also to the energy of the letter G, which is the energy of beginning in the Maya creation story. These symbols are all inherently cross-culture in our culture. We teach you that in our schooling, our schools. What they teach you now in schools doesn't mean a damn thing, mostly. It's not real. Don't learn and barf it back. Our schools currently now suck, S-U-C-K. You'll hear later in this conference about Anastasia schools in Russia. A school in Russia exists where the students built the school, every single block in the school. They're the teachers of the school, the curriculum. There are no teachers in the curriculum. There are no rules about how fast they advance. They learn 12 years of work in 2 years because they're allowed to learn by using their minds. You have the greatest power, capacity, computing capacity in the world here on your heads and the shoulders in this room. Use those damn minds they're so not using now. You can remember it. You can know it. You can learn. Schools taught you that. Wear the proper clothing. And if you're Hawaiian, If you're Santa Claus in Hawaii, you'll wear the right hat. You say, mahalo, Santa Claus.
Mahalo, Santa Claus.
Mahalo, Santa Claus. Hang loose, guys. And the word for the beginning father in Hawaii is Cain, which is like Abel and Cain from the Bible. Same kind of word. You see the same names around our planet. So you find cross-cultural mystery school teachings that are swearing we see commonalities. Those who hold the planet dear, keep it working. You who are here, keep it working. Use the offerings, textiles, crystals, flutes, rattles, incense, frankincense, myrrh, copal, sage, cedar, sweetgrass, cows, chickens, goats, McDonald's. Hershey's, exactly. Hershey's, yes.
Chocolate is sacred.
One of my favorite movies called Powwow Highway. At top of Bear Butte, or should some guys call it Bear Butt. He leaves behind Hershey bar, sacred Hershey bar, which is greatest symbol so for some of us, you leave behind dark chocolate, you've left behind your most sacred symbol in life. I personally love dark chocolate, so I leave behind dark chocolate. It's a gift offering. You can do so for yourselves. And here in the States, also animal feathers. If you're in Peru, you have a condor feather, or condor rattle, or whistle, or flute, or rattle. You're here in the States, if you're Native American, you may have an eagle or a raptor feather, a bird feather you use for your own ceremonies or whatever. You're connecting with the sky spirits, snakes, skies, and you see commonalities among animals, whether it be turtles and snakes and birds and bees are common around our planet and symbols of who we are. The awakening souls. We offer behind food items. I was in Abydos last year for the Osirian Temple of Resurrection at Abydos in Egypt. I left behind some hard-boiled eggs, Shiva lingams for the egg energy of creation, some bread for wheat, and some Saqqara beer. So if you're in Saqqara, you might as well leave behind beer in Egypt. You leave honey, cornmeal, flowers, cookie candy, whatever universally. And again, we leave flowers for beauty here universally. When you're in Peru, you use carnation leaves, white, pink, red, yellow for the energies. We use flowers to give offerings to the gods who are yourselves. And the word for you today is apotheosis. And today for yourself, I want to say the apotheosis of yourself today. Apotheosis means becoming God. In the capital of Washington, D.C., the biggest painting Capitol building is the apotheosis of George Washington. 4,000 plus square feet of GW becoming God. With the founding fathers, Moses, the cherubims. Look on the Capitol dome, you see him becoming God. And the E pluribus movement of many becoming one sole God. Mystery school teaching. Not mysterious, but becoming school teaching. We offer flowers, pollen, roses, money, whatever you wish to offer. Ex-wives, ex-husbands. Divorce decrees. There were schools at sites around the world. In the Maya lands, Palenque, Tikal, at Shambhala, which is in other dimensions, in Lemuria, Atlantis, in Greece at Eleusis. The Eleusinian mysteries had a cave there that taught mystery school teachings thousands of years ago at Eleusian. So the word elusive means Eleusius mysteries. Eleusius is the root word for elusive, to have the mystery school teachings. Atlantis, Greece, Cyprus, Bimini, Canary Islands. And Atlantis was all over the world. It was not only in one locality. And if you find, for example, around the world as you travel, you'll say Atlantis is in Spain. Spaniard guy says that. Greek guy says it was in Greece. English guy says it was in England. Irish guy says it's Ireland. Dutch guy says it's in Spain. Korean guy says it's in Bimini. Well, they're all right. And again, the problem here is, again, a lack of universality among our cultures. Remember who you are. Egypt sites. 4 sites in Egypt. Hermopolis is an older site, hard to get to now. Heliopolis mostly destroyed except for a few remnants of a castle place outside of Cairo. Memphis, and there's Saqqara again. And there are pyramids in Saqqara which are predating recorded history. Both in the Giza Plateau and at Abydos, there are 12,000-year-old temples. There's a pyramid in Saqqara which has only writing inside of it in geometric language, Nakian language only, in Nakian. 6,000 plus years old, functioning as a water pump to pump water. Pyramids were what? Not tombs. If you've ever been in the Great Pyramid of Egypt, it is not a tomb, morons. History Channel, Discovery Channel, Geographic Channel, they are all full of crap, panda crap. They need to be reduced. They are not tombs. They're for transformation. Do you remember that panda tomb? You take some panda stuff with you next time, okay? You will next. I'll try to get a deal for you at one of the zoos, maybe. We get a special deal. I'll have 2-for-1 panda poop. Okay, there we go. So we have, when you're in there, there's places of transformation. The chambers were meant to awaken, and the school teachings. Giza Plateau, Akhenaten, Masada, which again was destroyed when the Essenes were there. The Romans under the leadership of Maximus George Bush and Claudius Dick Cheney. It was in the book, don't you believe me? Forbidden ideas. They forbade the learning of many ideas. I like that last slide, actually. That came in I think I'll go back to it here. I like that one. Okay. I like that slide. That was my moment. That must have been late last week, I think, during the week. Again, the idea here is, again, that we make fun of ourselves and our own selves. We don't take ourselves too seriously, people. Again, that's the idea of humility. Teaching is humility and laughter. Laughter is so important of our world around us. We need to have laughter as we travel around our world. So I like this. Yeah, okay. And many of you were at Masada with the Essenes. You may have been destroyed there. Libraries of Alexandria, codexes in Maya lands, they were all burned, except for 4 which were then later transcribed from memory. So we had your school teachings, your ranks were memorized in Maya land, in Lemuria. The Rongo tablets of Easter Island destroyed by missionaries in the last 19th century. They could burn them. They were the history of Lemuria. They burned them. When the Quipus in Peru was destroyed by the conquistadors, they destroyed the memories of our schools in Peru thousands of years ago, of history. When you destroy your past, you forget who you are. You must begin to remember ourselves now. We need to save, and we're destroying right now, for example, in Iraq, Babylonia. Read in the newspaper about 2 weeks ago that our soldiers basically have destroyed the ancient site of Babylonia. The Sumerian cuneiforms, the site is almost in ruins by our soldiers who unfortunately didn't respect our own past. When you destroy our past, you destroy our present. And by the way, war is not a good thing, ever. It never solves anything. Or by theft by archaeologists. And the key there is that when you take apart a mound, a pyramid, a tomb, a place you built, and put the stuff in a museum, you've taken apart its sacredness. It's like taking, for example, your arm and putting it over there, and your other arm over there, and your head back there, and a leg here, and a leg there, and what do you got? Pieces and parts that are not connected together by the energy of who they are. So when you disconnect the soul from itself, you disconnect the energy of the earth. It must stay together as it was meant to be, and not destroyed in a museum by those who would be infidels and not respect our own sacredness and teachings of our own past. We had the teachings in Hawaii, in Easter Island, in India, where there are temples beneath the water, or above the water 10,000 years ago, in Tahiti, at Moorea, at Papati, at Tahiti, in Peru, in Chavindahantar, Machu Picchu, Tiwanaku, and Cusco. And there are tunnels in Cusco that are 3,000 miles long. 3,000 3,000 miles long. Cusco, Lima, Santiago. They're sealed off during World War II because people go inside there and never make it back out alive. I know where the openings are, by Taquisuesam, by Tambomache, north of Cusco, where there are 43 ley lines come together at a Catholic church now in Cusco, Osak. 3,000 miles long. There were found Egyptian artifacts in the north wall of the Grand Canyon in 1906 in a cave. It's now forbidden to go there because it does not fit the rules. So again, whoever doesn't fit the rules, you don't let them go look at it. Same in Egypt or wherever you go. Doesn't fit the rules, you can't go there. But we know better. Tiwanaku, 13,000 years ago again, above the sea. So is Nam Mandal, so is Abydos, and so is the Sphinx. But beneath some sands of time are some ancient wonderful sites where we have buried the ancient halls of records, the Cassian we have spoken of. And those are being revealed now to our benefit, for awakening of our soul on planet Earth, to help all of us here on planet Earth now. For our soul needs that now. We find these records of our own selves. We bring forth the energies of the mysteries for right now, for healing all of us here on this planet, for helping to bring about a oneness for all of us here right now on this planet. At Cuahuchi, it's next to Nazca Lions in Peru. And the shamans and myself who were in the Nazca Lions in Peru saw infidels approaching and said, let's bury our sacred mystery school teaching city under the dust of sands at times so they can't find our secrets. They're not ready for it yet. So we prayed up a great dust storm, we buried the city, left the lines alone. They're uncovering that city now, which is our own records. There are cities here and there around the world which are buried away until we are ready to find them again, to bring forth our records of who we were, to remember our teachings. Or like there are places that are hard to reach, like Lost Horizon. Sam Jaffe, Ronald Coleman, the old version is the best. Incredible old film, 1939, the best version ever done. Lost Horizon. Shambhala was an incredibly high location, hard to get to, but once you got there, either stayed or leave. When you left, you aged. Incredible place, hard to get to. Left hidden on purpose to keep it away from infidels and those who would not appreciate what it was. There are sites here that teach you cosmic mysteries, like Hunbatsmin in Kentucky, and there are many around the site. When you start searching your mystical schools around the planet, you find hundreds of them teaching now to us now. There are now hundreds of them coming back up. There are we who are there again now, teaching again now. We who are back have risen again, and we're teaching you all again now. We found the Ark of the Covenant. It's in Ethiopia, in Aksum. It's been there for quite a while. We built the Ark of the Covenant in Solomon's temple's time. Remember what it does. It's still around. We can still revere our own selves. When we had Atlantis, we built a great temple at Atlantis, a pyramid of power and glory. We got overpowered in ourselves, and we kept destroying ourselves because energy got too high. We kept misusing our power improperly. We had to remember who we were to bring forth the energy. The hearts of love had to be who we were. We destroyed our own selves more than once. Again and again and again. When we had Akhenaten in Egypt, we had the Aten sun disk. And you recognize here in his skull, the same skull was in Indiana Jones' temple, the Crystal Skull movie, by the way. See the long skull? That's an alien skull. Same as the movie about the crystal skulls. You find around the tree planting here in the States and South America, the skulls, the old ones who are from outer space, are now our star brothers. And you saw here the sun disk of Aten in Akhenaten. It has destroyed the city of Amarna in Egypt, because the priests didn't believe, they didn't like losing their jobs to the one God idea of Akhenaten. And his son Tutankhamun, who was murdered. The new hot list on the book list right now is the murder of Tutankhamun. He was murdered because he was the son of Akhenaten. Mr. School teaching. And here's the Ouroboros, the sacred serpent of wisdom, the serpent eating its own tail, the Ouroboros. A symbol, again, the serpent power of our power in ourselves awakening. This is a mystery school symbol. Ouroboros. These symbols and ideas are bringing forth the knowledge and power of who and what you are. Teaching of Pythagoras, sacred geometry, which we had to keep secret because we were afraid of making people mad. The Flat Earth Society. The Earth revolving around the universe revolving around the Earth. No. They tried to get rid of that Galileo for that bad teaching. Bad Galileo. Bad Galileo. Bad Galileo. Bad Galileo. Time and Secret. The Rosicrucians. The Rosicrucian Cross. Another, again, a mystery school group. And the rose, the flower of peace, is the symbol then coming through the Knights Templars, the Egyptians, the teachers of mystery schools come through them to us now. Rosicrucians, Rosy Cross. The symbol of Hermes Trigonithis, the chemical symbol of the tree of transformation, philosopher's gold. And again, he ran a great alchemical school teaching people like Harry Potter, Merlin, and some muggles. Oh, they were really hard to teach. There are many muggles out there now you got to work after now. These symbols of transformation were parts of our school teaching. Albertus Magnus, another great teacher, great philosopher, astrologer. And he could change the weather. He was also a shaman. And he was considered to be also so mysterious that they almost couldn't talk to him, like some of you. And here again is the symbol. Here, in fact, is our Capitol dome. There, remember, see God George right there? There's God George. Not Boy George, God George. See right there in the middle among the apostles and everybody? Well, there's Georgie right there. That's our Capitol dome. Used to have our Capitol also a Vestal Virgin burning a fire pit below the Capitol dome for 50 years. Did you know that? A Vestal Virgin in our own Capitol dome. 50 years she had the job. And there's George, or the 4,000 plus square foot painting on the ceiling called the Apotheosis of George Washington, which is our Capitol dome. There's George becoming God. So we were founded upon the teaching mystery schools. There's our history of who we came from. There are symbols of the Kabbalah and alphabets. These ancient languages are symbols of writing that were shared among us as a way to share secret knowledge by those who didn't need to know them being revealed. The original Washington Monument picture right here used to have the base of the first design had a pantheon at the base of it. Right, there we go. Not now. Original design of the Washington Monument. And again, here we have the Masonic symbol. And you see up here, here's our letter G, which is the symbol of the 0 point in the Maya land. The G is the zero beginning universe, or the word Hun in the Mayan energy, Kishmayan, with a symbol of the all-seeing high, Cheru Ujat, the Egyptian eye in the middle. I've seen sacred geometry around there, Masonic symbol. So these symbol things transfer. And here's George Washington wearing his Mason's robe. Right here, there's his robe. He was a Mason. He was then a mystery school adept, a teacher. There's part of the symbols and rituals that are in the Mason's third degree ritual, for example, right here. And you see many, many rituals that are in this chart. These 3 stages here, many, many, many symbols. And here's our biggest obelisk in the world. A symbol of power and mystery and energy and virility, a giant Viagra monument. In the middle of by God, Washington. So remember where he came from as you see those things. What they tell you otherwise, it's not true. Library of Congress, on the floor zodiac symbols. We have in Washington 23 locations which have astrological symbols of all 12 signs. We built Washington on the symbol of the zodiac. We signed the Independence Declaration when Sirius was rising in the exact moment when Sirius was a star over us, like Egypt. This country was formed under the energy of Sirius, like Egypt. We are a Syrian country. Ancient Mystery School place. Look up the astrology of the Declaration of Independence on that day, 1776. You'll see what happened. It's not, it's real. Here's the old pyramid at Cuahachi in Peru, which was a mystery school of us, our teachings. And yet, here's Hunbat's men near Chichen Itza, when they couldn't do a ceremony on the site, when they had to go off-site to do an actual ceremony because they were prohibited to do teaching there because we could not do our teachings where we were supposed to be doing them. And here's Hunbat's doing his work where he needs to be doing it, prohibited by doing it. And here in Peru, here's our giant heads again, Grand Saposa. Mystery school teaching sites, ancient alien culture contact points. Nothing new about that. And here in Massachusetts is the Digton Rock. Put this in here because Monday's Columbus Day. And guys, for God's sakes, he did not discover America. Columbus did not discover America, people. He was only here after they brought pizza from Domino's. Then he came. But we had Vikings and Chinese, and this is a Phoenician symbol here in Massachusetts. There's a museum in Massachusetts which has this Digton Rock, which is ancient Punic Iberian Phoenician energy rock writing on this rock in Massachusetts. There are Viking runestones in Oklahoma, West Virginia, Minnesota, and around our country. There are Chinese out west. There are Hebrew writings on rocks in New Mexico, in Michigan. There was a menorah mound here in Ohio built over 1,000 years ago in the shape of a menorah. So we have symbols of teachings that were then. Here's the Grave Creek mound symbol found in the last century, which again is Viking runestones that were disappeared because it did not fit the rules. It was real. Why do we do this? This was Nature magazine this week. My background is science. I worked for the high EPA 15 years before I became abnormal. And I found that time that we revere our planet Earth. This is a symbol, or a chart, I should say here, of the Earth's energy systems, climate change with weather, CO2, sea level, ocean level, in terms of acidification, species extinction, and we're facing great crisis areas in terms of CO2, species being extinct, and ocean being acidified. If we don't get it together, we're going to destroy our own selves. 20112 won't do it, but we're doing it to our own self. We have to get our act together now. Mystery School teachings are to help supporting Mother Earth and who we are. So we have, this magazine says we have boundaries in terms of climate, biodiversity loss, water usage, CO2 levels, ocean, climate change, pollution, atmospheric energies. These are boundaries of our planet. If we get rid of all, we exceed all 9, we're basically dead. We do our work now to help preserve us. We're now the #1 species here on our planet. There's a mammal. There are now more mammals than there are rats on our planet. CO2 levels, addiction rate, nitrogen atmosphere, phosphorus in our oceans, which are having dead zones, ozone, fresh water, land cover, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. These things are teachings of who I am. And this is a picture of me. When you're doing teachings, you wear the right clothing. You wear the right hat. Should put this on first. Okay. You wear the right hat. And you do your energy work. This is the actual Stargate. This is in Peru near Lake Titicaca. When you walk through this doorway, you can come, not leave this dimension forever. It's called Amaru Maru. You can walk through the Stargate in Titicaca, near Lake Titicaca, south of Puno in Peru, on the way to Bolivia. And it's all, there's no signs marking it, but when you go up there, you feel a doorway, time and space. So you who are here are finding now a doorway between time and space to create your soul learning forth who it is. And here's the doorway which you've created. So bring your soul forth and remember who you are. Become the energy of who you need to be and be your own Stargate. Learn your school teaching. Become the Santa Claus by using fractals or whatever. And again, kindness always helps. When I was in Peru in August, we were arriving at this one small hotel near the condo town of Cabana Conde. When I went in there, they said, "Where's your voucher, Mr. Harsh? Are you going to pay for all the rooms tonight?" I said, "No." They said, "Feliz Navidad, ho, ho, ho. Here's your keys, Mr. Harsh." So a little bit of kindness and give an offering and gratitude always works. You use offering and kindness, it always opens doorways. So when you're traveling around here, our mission school teaching is be kind and loving to each other. And bring forth your best and highest good. And be here you're supposed to be always. I have time for a couple questions if you want to ask any questions, for a couple questions, just a couple minutes, about a minute or two. I don't want to take time away from Ariel C's who's here after me. We have time for a question or two if you want. If not, we have a question. Okay. What's that? Yes, yes, yes. Georgia, good question. Georgia has many anomalies in it. Mr. Christian came to Elberton, Georgia a number of years ago and had Nine Stones built, which is a guard for humanity. They're vandalized this past year by idiots.
Georgia Guidestones?
Yes.
Oh.
They defaced them. They wrote all over them because they were morons. They have rules for humanity in Georgia that are east of Atlanta. There's also in Georgia, by the way, an Irish mound at Indian Fort Mountain near Chatsworth, Georgia, near Chatsworth, northern Georgia, Indian Fort Mountain. There's also a Phoenix Thunderbird Egyptian cross near Macon, Georgia, at Eaton, Georgia, at the 4-H place, 8 miles north of there. It's a 5,000-year-old Egyptian Phoenix bird Thunderbird near Eaton, Georgia, where Bear Rabbit came from. And when you're in Macon, Georgia, the Okmulgee Mounds are aligned to the Pharaoh's birthday. So Georgia had mystery schools. Guidestones were part of mystical teaching and bringing forth for all humanity love and blessings for all who are here. Tricia.
Crystal Mound in Florida?
Yes, Crystal Mound in Florida has a combination of both European, American, Hopewellian, Stone Age type stone alignment, manatees nearby, Hopewellian, cross-cultural heritage site, mystery school teachings in Crystal River, Florida. Your home is Sassa Springs. We've been there. Okay, so there are these sites here that are cross-cultural heritage sites that bring forth the knowledge of our own self. So again, Georgia Guidestones, just look them up. If you hadn't heard about them, look them on the web. Keep reading. Be aware of who you are. And there's much in the world we're discovering right now. You're remembering who you are. So again, thank you for being here today. Blessings to you all. Om Shanti.